Hello everybody and welcome back to this new video. Today we're going to be talking about Pi. This is a Linux machine from CyberSecLabs. So we're going to jump straight into the IP, and one of the first things I check even before I scan is just see if it's up, see if there's a web page, and in this case port 80 is indeed open. And we can see that it seems to be running Pi-hole. Now if you don't know what Pi-hole is, it's a Linux network level advertisement and internet tracking blocking application. So what it does is it blocks advertisements on a network level, which means it's not the same as an ad blocker because that does it on an application level here in the browser. But this does it on a network level, which means it also works for iOS, Android, stuff like that. So it's a common thing that's commonly used. And in this case, this web page says that you mean to go to the admin panel. And if we go to the admin panel, we see, okay, we have access to the admin panel without any authentication or authorization. So when I have access to an admin panel, I always like to go search for RCE. Now you can do this yourself, or you can just use, for example, Searchsploit. So we're gonna do Searchsploit for Pi-hole. In the meanwhile, down here I also have a listener already ready. So we see there's a couple of authenticated remote code execution. So that's what we want. Let's see what version we have first. So looking at this page here, at the bottom it says Pi-hole version. We have a dev version of 4.3.0. We see this one here is for versions below 4.4. So that might work out. Let's do -w so we get a link at the end here. And let's take a look at that link. So this is a Python exploit. We supply it a session cookie, the URL, RIP, and a reverse port, the port for it to connect to, and then it's going to do its thing. So we'll start running that, and then we'll take a look at the script further. So I've already copied it down here, so we have the exploit here, so now we can run it. So I've given it execute permissions, and now we can say, okay, Pi-hole, we then want to have a session token. For that, we'll open up the inspector tool, grab our PHP session ID here, grab the value, paste that in. Then we want to have the URL, which is going to be just that. Then we want to have our own IP address, which is 10.10.0.8. And then we want to have our port on which we're listening, which is 1234. So whilst that is running, this will take a little while. So let's take a look at this exploit then. So first of all, we can see that this cookie was indeed the PHP session ID. It's going to use a Python 3 reverse shell. This is the common one that we see in pentest monkeys, which is commonly used. It's going to run as sudo, or it's going to do a shell exec as sudo, which is interesting. Because I assume Pi-hole has to run as sudo as well, so we might actually get a root shell here. So it's going to do a couple of callbacks. So it's going to do the first one, which seems to maybe just be a check to see if the server is up. Then it's going to upload a root payload. And it's going to upload a shell payload. So what I think this does is it's going to first make sure that we're running this as root, which is what this sudo Pi-hole is. We're going to run it as root, so that when we get a shell back, we get a shell as root. That's what I assume here. From just quickly reading the source code, we can see it worked, and we got a shell back. And as we can see, our shell is a root shell. So that was this box. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll hope to see you back for another one.